Income Tax Act 1961 and the Income Tax Act 2025. What are all the changes? And in case there are changes with regard to the section or rule itself, that also will be explained in detail. And I will also be explaining you the process for filing the quarterly return. So let me get into the topic. So what are the topics for discussion is TDS returns and forms, then TCS return and form, amendments in TDS provision, and how to make the payment, TDS challan payment process under this new Income Tax Act, and FAQs. So first thing is, how are we going to navigate from the 1961 Act to the 2025? So this Income Tax Bill of 2025, it came into effect from 1st April, and it is effective for this financial year, that is 26 to 27. So basically what happens is the section numbers and all have been changed. So like 192, 194, 206C, all these are changed to the revised sections like 392, 393 and 394 series. So we'll be seeing that in detail in the upcoming slides, and also the forms are changed. So we had earlier the returns 24Q, 26Q, 27Q. Now we have 138, 140, 141 and so on. So whoever is managing, like it can be a payroll, it can be vendor payments, or any individual who is paying rent and all this. Now the TDS returns and forms are totally different. So let us get into it. The first one is we are going to see about salary and dividend income. So salary and dividend income, the previous section was 192 for whether it is government employee or a private employee. Now here the section is replaced by 392. So again, we have separate payment code. The forms are same. That is for all three categories, the forms are same. That is that form 24Q is replaced with form 138, and the rate is also same as per the slab rate only. The only change from the new from the old to new is the section number is changed, the form number is changed, and when it is going to be a government employee other than union, that is state government, then the payment code is 1001. Private employee, it is 100, and central government employee is 1003. And for all the three categories, the form is 138, which was earlier 24Q. Next is in case of withdrawal of PF, Provident Fund. So that was earlier under section 192. Now it is replaced with 392. So the threshold limit is 50,000. So the moment it exceeds 50,000, you are liable for a TDS of 10%. The earlier form of 26Q is 140, and the payment for that is 1004. So 194 section for this dividend from domestic company. Now that is replaced with 393 subsection 1. So there is no limit. That is, the limit is no limit, and the rate is 10%. And earlier form was form 26Q, which is replaced with 140. So with regard to PF withdrawal and dividend from domestic company, the form is 140, but the payment code is different. That is 1029 for the dividend, and PF it is 1004. And for dividend, there is no limit at all. For PF withdrawal, there is a limit of 50,000. Now, this threshold limit in the rate and all remains the same as per the old Income Tax Act. The change is with regard to the section, form, and the payment. So let me move on to the next slide. So when there is commission, TDS on commission. So commission, we have two categories. One is insurance commission and other than insurance commission. So insurance commission, which was earlier under 194D, it is now replaced with section 393 subsection 1. And the threshold limit is 20,000. The rate remains the same, that is 2%. So earlier form 26Q is replaced with new return number form 140, and the payment code is 1005. When it is going to be other than insurance commission, earlier it was 194H, now it is 393 subsection 1. So same for insurance commission and other than insurance, same section 393 subsection 1. And the threshold limit and the rate is also same, 20,000 and 2%. Form is also same, 140. The payment code is different. So for this, it is 1006. And in case we receive any income from mutual fund, so earlier it was 194K, which is replaced with 393 subsection 1. The limit is 10,000. And when it exceeds 10,000, a TDS of 10% is required to be deducted. Form 140 is the new form, which is the replacement for the Form 26Q, and the payment code is 1013. So next is in case of payment to partners in a partnership form. So 194T was introduced very recently. That is replaced with section 393 subsection 3. Threshold limit is 20,000 and the TDS rate is 10%. So old form, that is for resident it was 26Q and non-resident it was 27Q. That is replaced with 140 for resident, and for non-resident it is 144, and the payment code is 1067. And in case of transfer of movable property or joint development agreement, so 194 1A is replaced with 393 subsection 1. So the limit is 50 lakhs, same limit. 1% is the rate, same rate. And the old form 26QB is replaced with 141. Payment code is 1000. Joint development agreement where the builder receives consideration in the form of units in the apartment. So in that case, the threshold limit is nil. And the earlier section of 194 1C is replaced with 393 subsection 1. And the rate is 10%. The old form of Form 26Q is replaced with Form 140, and the payment code is 1012. Now, whenever you withdraw any cash from the cooperative society or other than the cooperative society, or in case of NSS, that is National Savings Schemes withdrawal. So what is the change? So the TDS on cash withdrawal from cooperative society, in case of cooperative society, the 194N is replaced with 393 subsection 3, and the threshold limit is 3 crores. TDS is 2%. If it is going to be resident, now it is 140. Earlier it was 26Q. Non-resident, it is 144. Earlier it was 27Q. The payment code differs for all three categories. First, for cooperative society, it is 1064. In the second case, other than cooperative society, the limit is also different. It is only 1 crore is the limit. For cooperative, it is 3 crores. So 194N is replaced with 393 subsection 3, and 2% is the effective rate. And the form is same for all the three transactions. 140 for resident and 140 for non-resident. The payment code is 1065. In case of national savings schemes withdrawal, the threshold limit is only 2,500. The moment it exceeds the threshold limit, 10% of TDS is required to be deducted, and the form being the same for all the three categories. The earlier section of 194 EE is replaced with 393 subsection 3, and the payment code is 1066. Next is TDS on rent. So we have for individual, then plant and machinery, and land and building. So in case of individual, so 194 1B is replaced with 393 subsection 1. So 50,000 is the limit per month and 2% is the TDS. So earlier return, that is 26QC, is replaced with 141. And in case of plant and machinery, for other than individual, it is same 50,000 per month and 2% is the TDS. Form 26Q is replaced with Form 140. And the replace section is 393 subsection 1. And in case of land and building, the TDS rate is 10%. The threshold limit remains the same, 50,000. And Form 26Q is replaced with Form 140, and 1009 is the payment code. Now, in case of certain income units of business trust and capital markets, so you get income by way of interest, dividend, rent, REIT, and all this. So when there is, in all these cases, the threshold limit, there is no limit at all, and the rate is remaining the same of 10%. And all these 194 LBA, LBC, all these are replaced with 393 subsection 1, and the forms are replaced from 26Q to 140. The only difference is the payment code 1014. It starts with 1014 and it goes on till 1018. So basically, interest, dividend, rent, real estate income, all the securitization, trust, for everything, there is no limit and the rate is same, 10% only. The form is different and the payment code for each transaction is different. So this is one thing which we have to take into consideration. And next we move on to interest income, TDS on interest income. So whenever there is interest on securities, so the TDS is a 10%. The limit is 10,000. 193 is the previous section. Now it is replaced with 393 subsection 1. And the form is replaced with 140. So the old form is 26Q. So in all these cases, the form remains the same. The payment code differs. So whenever person receives any interest from bank, post office, cooperative society for senior citizens. So the senior citizen, the limit is 1 lakh and the rate is 10%. The form is 140 only. 1020 is the payment code. 194A is replaced with 393 subsection 1. And in case of interest from bank, post office for other than senior citizens, so 194A is replaced with 393 subsection 1. The threshold limit is 50,000, which was as per the old income tax also the same threshold limit, the same rate. Form is replaced 140. 1021 is the payment code. Interest other than banks. So 194A is replaced with 393 subsection 1. 10,000 is the threshold limit and 10% is the effective rate. 26Q is replaced with 140. 1022 is the payment code. So for all these cases, the form remains the same. 140 is the form, the payment code is different. Next is TDS on contract, professional service, technical service. So contract, the individual or HUF. So same single transaction, 30,000. And for multiple transaction for one financial year, 1 lakh. If it is exceeding that limit, 1% TDS, then the form 26Q is replaced with 140. 194C is replaced with 393 subsection 1. If it is contract and other than individual, the threshold limit is same, but the rate is 2%, which is same as per the old Income Tax Act. Only the form is replaced and the section is replaced. Payment code is different for individual and other than individual. For the individual, it is 1023, and for other than individual, 1024. Next is any sum for contract or professional or any commission which is not covered elsewhere. So 194M is replaced with 393 subsection 1. 50 lakh is the threshold limit and that the rate is 2%. Same form is all the form 26Q is replaced with 140. Payment code is 1025. Fee for technical service, royalty, film distribution, call center. So 194JA is replaced with 393 subsection 1. And 50,000 is the threshold limit, 2% is the TDS, 140 is a new form, and 1026 is the payment code. Any other professional services, 50,000 is the threshold limit, and 10% is the TDS. Form 26Q is replaced with 140, 1027. And 194J for this director remuneration, there is no limit at all. And the 10% TDS is applicable. 140 is a new form, 1028. So in all these cases, the section is same, 393 subsection 1. The threshold limit is different, the rate is different. The entire form 26Q is now replaced with 140. The payment code is different for each type of transaction. So that only we have to take into consideration. Next, any other transaction, what is the TDS? Purchase of goods. So 194Q is replaced with 393 subsection 1. So 50 lakhs is the threshold limit and 0.1% is the TDS. The new form is 140. 1031 is the payment code. And in case of specified senior citizens, 194P is replaced with 393 subsection 1. There is no limit. It also goes with the slab rate. That is basically the form 26Q salary. Now it is replaced with 138. 1032 is the payment code. Perquisites and benefit. So we have it in cash and kind. So 194R is replaced with 393 subsection 1. So in both the cases, the rate and the threshold remains the same and the form also same 140. The payment code alone is different. 1033 for cash and 1034 for other than cash, that is in kind. So 20,000 is the threshold limit and 10% is the rate and form 140 is a new form. And TDS by e-commerce operator. So earlier section was 194O, which is replaced with 393 subsection 1. And the threshold limit is 5 lakhs for individual and HUF. And 0.1% is the TDS rate. 140 is a new form. 1035 is the payment code. And in case of LIC, So TDS for LIC payment, 1 lakh is the threshold limit, 2% is the TDS rate. 194 DA is replaced with 393 subsection 1. Form 140 is a new form and 1030 is the payment code. And in case of VDA, that is what is digital assets. So for HUF or individual, cash or kind, whatever it is, there is no threshold limit and rate is 1% only. So form 26 EQ is replaced with 141. Payment code is 1036. So the new section is 393 subsection 1, which is the replacement for 194S. Now, in case of other than individual, the cash and kind. So we have to differentiate, though there is no limit, the threshold limit remains the same and the rate also remains the same. Form also is the same, 140 only, but the payment code is different, 1037 for cash. And in case of kind, it is 1038. Now, NRI payments. So whenever there is any NRI payment, what is the TDS to be deducted? So income payable to FII, foreign institutional investors, or any portfolio investors in respect of securities. So 196D is replaced with 393 subsection 2. There is no limit for that. 20% is the TDS. So form 27Q is replaced with 144 and 1056 is the payment code. And in case of interest which is not covered under the previous serial numbers or any other which is not a salary, so now it is earlier it was 195, now it is replaced with 393 subsection 2. 30% is the effective rate and the new form is form 144. The 1057 is the payment code. And in case of any interest on money which is borrowed in foreign currency, 5% is the TDS. 194 LC is replaced with 393 subsection 2. The new form is 144. Payment code is 1040. So TDS, we have seen all the replaced sections, the replaced returns, the payment code and all this. Now we are going into TCS. So TCS 206C1 is replaced with section 394. So whether it is going to be sale of alcoholic liquor, tendo leaves, then timber from forest lease, then timber obtained from other than forest lease, any other forest products, scrap, or sale of minerals like coal, lignite, iron ore, and all these, there is no threshold limit and the rate is same. So earlier form of 27 EQ is replaced with form 143. The payment code is different for each of the transactions starting from 1068 and it goes on till 1074. Otherwise, the rate and all remains the same for all the transactions. The section is same and form is 143. 206C1F is replaced with section 394 for motor vehicle when the value is exceeding 10 lakhs. The rate is 1% and 143 is the new form. Payment code is 1075. Now LRS, so remittance for this education or medical, when it is exceeding 10 lakhs, it is 2%. TDS form is 143 only. Payment code is different, that is 1086. All this 206C1G is replaced with 394. LRS, any other purposes above 10 lakhs, 20% is the TDS rate and 1087 is the payment code. Form is 143. Overseas tour package, there is no limit. 2% is the TDS, 143 is the new form, 1088. And parking lot. So 206C, 1C is replaced with 394. No limit, 2% is the TDS. The new form is 143, 1088. And 1090. And in case of toll plaza, so for that the TCS is 2%, 1091. And 106C, 1C is replaced with 394. And any mine or quarry except the oil mining, there is no limit, 2% is the TDS and 1092 is the payment code. And now coming to the amendments with regard to provisions, the TDS provisions. So interest other than on securities. So what is the amendment here? So earlier if you see 194A, it requires TDS on interest other than on securities and the TDS was not applicable for banking company to which the Banking Regulation Act applies or any cooperative society which is engaged in the business of banking, including a cooperative land mortgage bank and any other financial corporation. So for all these three cases, the TDS was not applicable on that interest But in Income Tax Act 2025, so TDS is not required to be deducted only for banking company and financial corporation. But for cooperative society, it is required to be deducted. So this is a major change here. So the exemption of TDS for cooperative bank is being omitted in the new Income Tax Act. So therefore, these cooperative societies are subject to TDS on interest income. The next part with regard to the amendment is in case of compensation, which is awarded by the Motor Accidents Claims Tribunal. So, as per this 194A3, clause 9 and 9A, TDS on interest is required to be deducted only at the time of payment and when the amount exceeds 50,000. So, at the time of credit, it was not required to be deducted. But whereas in case of New Income Tax Act, it says time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. It is not on receipt basis. So the threshold limit remains the same, 50,000, but it is credit or payment. So eventually in the Income Tax Act, new Income Tax Act 2025, so it is not at the time of payment. So therefore what happens is at the time of credit itself, we have to deduct TDS and even if it is not actually received. So what will happen? What impact it will create? There will be a mismatch, timing mismatch, because the interest income is taxable only on receipt basis as per section 277. But TDS will be deducted at the time of credit itself. Therefore, we need to carry forward the TDS credit until the year of actual receipt. So this will be a impact which will be created because of the amendment. Now let us move on to the most important part of this session, that is the TDS challan payment process. So under this new Income Tax Act, so first thing is you have to log into the income tax portal using your TAN and click login, select the TAN login, put your TAN number, enter your TAN number, the CAPTCHA and the code, password, CAPTCHA and the code. So once then you can complete your authentication when the OTP, you're giving the OTP. After login, then move on to e-pay tax, then new payment. So after that, select the applicable law. So Income Tax Act 25 is there, Income Tax Act 1961 is there. So we have to select the applicable law. So for any payments which is relating to the periods from 1st April 26, we have to select the new Income Tax Act 25. Then payment type. So once you choose the applicable act, then we have to select the payment type, whether it is going to be TDS or TCS from the drop down. Then the tax applicable, major head, like whether it is going to be company or other than the company. So then in the drop down list, we have the nature of payment. So each drop down option will contain the nature of payment, that is the description of payment, the corresponding section for the new Income Tax Act, and the unique payment code. So let me show one screenshot. So if you see here, there is a description of that nature of payment, the section number and the payment code. So all three are there. So the logic is the drop down list is not arranged based on section numbers. It is based on the TDS reporting architecture used by the income tax system. So if you see, the payments are grouped by type of transaction and not by chapter. So payment for government employees other than government employees balance. So all these based on the type of the transaction. And similar deductions are clubbed under master reporting, like salary payments one category, contract payments one category, then professional and technical fees one category. So based on that, it is grouped, and each category will be assigned a unique payment code. So salary itself, if you see, for the central government one code, for state government one code, then private employee then one code. So different codes. So each category will be given one unique payment code. Now while selecting, it is going to be very easy because the description is also there, the section number is also there, payment code is also there. Now, so because of these unique payment code for each type of transaction, the reconciliation becomes much easier. So because between your challan payment and your TDS return. So using the code itself, you can reconcile, and even in your traces processing system, whatever reports you download in the form 26A is and AS reporting. So the reconciliation is very easy. Now, one important aspect, very, very important practical aspect is earlier we had to generate different challan for each type of payment. But now a single challan is sufficient for TDS. So TDS one challan, TCS one challan. That's all. So two challans. So in case you don't have TCS, then only TDS means one challan is sufficient. So earlier we have different types of TDS means we used to have 5-6 challans, and a company will have like so many group companies. Say 10 group companies are there means each company 6 challans means 60 challans will be there. The downloading itself will take a lot of time. But now it is only single challan for one TAN. So the TAN should be same. Assessment year should be, that is the tax year. Now it is not assessment year or previous year, it is tax year. And payment type, it should be TDS. TDS and TCS you cannot club under one challan. So all type of TDS, one challan, provided the TAN is same. So for each group company, you will have one challan instead of the 5 or 6 earlier. So how do you add multiple sections in one challan? First you select the nature of payment, then enter the tax amount. Then again click add. So we have this option here, add. Then again select the nature of the next payment, put that amount. So you repeat this for all the sections. For like professional, technical fees, rent, all this we have to repeat the same. So single challan. Now this single challan is very easy for us because to generate it also it is easy. One time you can go generate it, and downloading after payment is also much easier. So it saves a lot of time. Details of payment. So you have to enter all these details. So what are the tax amount? Appropriate fields, you have to enter tax amount. Then interest. If there is any delay, then you have to put the interest. Late fee. Late fee for late filing of return, penalty, or any other thing which is applicable. Put that amount. So automatically the total will be calculated by the system, and then you can enter. So this is the challan payment process. Next, we are moving on to FAQs. So now there are certain questions like how to determine the applicable TDS law for 2026. So it depends upon the earlier of the event. So it is credit or payment, whichever is earlier. Suppose the earlier event occurs before 31st March. Then it is Income Tax Act 1961. Say credit is 15th March and payment is say 5th April. So whichever is earlier is 15th March. It is occurring before 31st March. So Income Tax Act 1961 will be applicable. Earlier event occurs after, on or after 1st April. So then means it is new income tax. Say credit is 4th April and payment is 10th April. So it is, the earlier is 4th April, which is after 1st April. So therefore, new income tax act 25 will be applicable. Now let us take, for example, professional fees. So it is credited in 2026 March, but payment is made in April 26. So in this case, 1965, because the earlier event is the credit, which is March 2026, the old act will apply for the TDS deducted in March 2026. Next, TDS transition for ongoing contracts. So whether we have to make any changes in the contract is no. Like say for example, the deductor, say he applies the old act for payments or credits up to 31st March 26. And for from 1st April onwards, he will apply new act 2025. So he need not amend the contract. The act will be applicable based on the credit or payments. So when it is commencing from 1st April, automatically the new act will be applicable and the deductor will be required to apply the new TDS provision. So in case say XYZ Limited has a monthly housekeeping contract with ABC Cleaning Services. So payment for March 2026 is credited on 31st March 2026. So in this case, the old act will be applicable 194C. And payment for April 2026 is credited on 30th April 2026. Then TDS will be under the new act, section 393 subsection 1. The rate and threshold remains the same for both the acts. Next, in case of what are the applicable forms and due dates across the 2026 transition? So now we are transitioning from the old act to the new act. So we have to determine what are the applicable provisions based on the relevant period and what are the TDS forms and the corresponding due dates. So suppose the period is financial year 25-26, then automatically it is going to be old Income Tax Act. And if it is going to be salary, it is form 16 only. And if it is tax year 2026-27, then it is new Income Tax Act 2025. Form is 130. And in case of due date for the salary, old act it is 15th June. So 25-26 means 15th June 2026, the TDS certificates will have to be issued. And new act, so 15th June 2027, the TDS certificate for that will have to be issued for salary cases. So in case of other than salary, so quarterly like Jan to March 2026, then Form 16A will have to be issued within 15th June 2026. So that is 15 days from the due date for furnishing the TDS return. Now, next, in case of Income Tax Act 2025, April to June. So April to June 2026, the form is Form 131 and 15th August. So July 31st is the due date for furnishing the TDS return. So 15 days from that due date is 15th August. So within that date, the TDS certificate will have to be issued. Now, what are the timelines for deposit, TDS deposit and compliances? So the timelines, they remain unchanged. Due dates are the same, 7th of next month for January to February 2026. And in case of March, it is going to be 30th April for 1960 as well as the 2025. And from April 2026 onwards, automatically Income Tax Act 2025 will apply. So it will be 7th of next month only. And for March alone, it will be 30th April. So the timelines remain unchanged. So basically, if you see, when we compare the old Income Tax and new Income Tax Act for TDS and TCS, the threshold limit and the TDS rate, due date and all remain the same only. So what has changed is the sections, the return, the form numbers for the TDS certificates and the payment code and the process. The major changes, earlier we had multiple challans, now we have single challan. So that is possible now. So little, we can say the time is saving is there. So it is actually much more user friendly now. So these are the changes. And with regard to the TDS provisions, we just saw the two provisions. Like for cooperative society, yes, the TDS is applicable now, interest for that. So otherwise, there is no much change. So only thing which we have to keep in mind is the section numbers, the return for numbers, and the TDS certificate form numbers and the payment code. So with this, I complete my presentation on TDS and TCS comparison with the old Income Tax Act. So any questions, I am ready to take up. Thank you so much.
Welcome, ma'am. Some of our participants are having queries.
Yes.
They can unmute themselves and, if possible,
Okay.
they turn on their
Okay.
video also and they can
Sure.
ask their questions.
Okay. Mr. Santanamurthy Hemakumar. TDS on rent to NRI. Okay. Whether we need to use 1057. So you mean the payment code you are saying? Hello?
Are you
Mr.
there?
Hemakumar.
Hema Kumar ji. I think he has left.
Okay. Okay, next, let me move on to the next question. In case of foreign professional fees payments, if invoice is for March 2026 and we are remitting amount in 20 April 2026. Have to file Form 15CA CB or Form 145, 146 under the New Income Tax Act. So, for all these cases, it is invoice or payment, whichever is earlier. So, the invoice is pertaining to March 2026. So, 1961 Act only will be applicable. Therefore, you have to proceed with Form 15CA or CB only. So only for April 26 invoices, you will have to apply the New Income Tax Act. Okay. And yeah. In case of buying of immovable property from an NRI after 1st April 2026, may I know we have to follow old procedure, that is obtain TAN and pay the TDS at
तो करके
applicable.
काम है तो बता दो, मैं कर दूं.
So yes, same. We have to follow that same procedure only. So in case you are buying any property from NRI, the same procedure you have to follow, obtain the TAN. TDS and property purchase from NRI, same only. So which I've covered. For online platform service.
Ma'am, excuse me, Deepika ma'am, regarding TDS on NRI for purchase
Yeah.
of property. So
Okay.
we need to deduct TDS. Suppose we buy property today as on date. Even as a resident buyer has to get it from 146 because it is a payment. Even though in NRO account in INR currency, we required 146 form.
So what is your question actually?
We are asking, suppose resident buyer is paying in INR currency.
Okay.
15 CB is still required, 146.
So from which date you are asking?
Current date.
Okay. That is April.
Yes.
But why for resident you are getting that?
Because resident is paying to NRI. Section 195 is cover any payment to non-resident. So for
you
that
mean,
purpose,
okay, you mean the resident, the buyer is the resident and to whom it is paid is the NRI.
yes.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yes, it is applicable.
Yeah. So suppose we buy property. So in that case, as a CA certificate, we make a 146. It is 12.5% TDS.
The TDS
Because-
rate you are.
Rate, because the effective rate is applicable. The rate is 12.5% in respect of long-term capital gain without indexation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Same. So the rates remain unchanged. The rate in new income tax, if you see, the rate is unchanged. So basically only the form numbers, the section numbers are changed and the payment code. So the rate remains unchanged. Hello?
Yeah. So regarding 20%, when 20% is applicable, just I'm asking when 20% rate is applicable, since it is a buying of property as on today. The rate is changed from 23rd July 2024 without
Correct.
indexation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 20% is not applicable at any cost to.
No, we have this 12.5%, no? With indexation. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Yes, sir. So
Yes.
please can you elaborate? Because see, 12.5% is there.
Yes.
So that
Okay.
that only will be applicable, right?
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So any other questions? The issue regarding TDS from cooperative society, interest on cooperative society, engaged in banking is taken to its original form after amendment in 393.4 tables the serial number 7CA by Finance Act 2026. So basically, with regard to cooperative society, earlier in the old Income Tax Act, TDS was not applicable in that case. Now TDS is applicable. So yes, so we have to take it in that form itself.
Madam, TDS is still not applicable because they have made an amendment by Finance Act to 2026. That is what I understand. Because earlier in the Income Tax Act 2025, the original form, they have removed that. But in the Finance Act 26 amendment, they have again incorporated that. That is what I understand. Just wanted to confirm from you.
So that is why I'm saying, since they have made an amendment,
Right.
so now yeah, TDS is applicable for the
So
cooperative
TDS is
society.
not applicable. That is what I am saying. 393(4) is no tax deduction, and now they have
Huh.
amended that. Earlier in 2025 Act, the original Act that they have brought in August, they have removed that exception. Now they have again brought in that exception of cooperative society, engage in business of banking. So now again, they are not required. We are not required to deduct TDS for cooperative banks.
Okay, let me check that again and I'll get back.
Okay.
So because as far as I went through, I understand only this banking and financial institutions are away from this TDS, but cooperative society.
I was mentioning about this amendment in 2026 Finance Act, that recent amendment that they have again brought this back to the original form that was in the 1961 Act. That was an error
So that
or an
means
omission that was done in the 2025 Act that came in August, and then they have corrected it here. That is what I just wanted to confirm from you.
oh, so let me check the effective date also then.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse
So
me,
as far as
ma'am.
I know, for April onwards, as far as my understanding is concerned, TDS is applicable. Let me check the effective date for this amendment.
That so
Yes.
far as I understand, the effective date is 1/4/26, so it applies for 26/27 as it is the 26 Act applies to, or 25 Act applies to
Yeah,
26/27 onwards.
correct.
So that is, I mean, just a clarification if possible. Okay.
Yeah, but there is an amendment by the Finance Act 2026, right?
Right, that
So
is what I'm saying. The amendment has made this again back to its
yeah, to the
original
original.
form,
Correct.
that no TDS is deductible now.
Correct.
And that is the case with the Motor Vehicle Act also. I mean, the Motor Vehicle Accidents Claim
Compensation.
Tribunal also, that they have
Ah.
brought in that individual, no tax is required even for less than 50,000 or more than 50,000. But with other than individual, they have payment or credit, which you rightly said, that have now brought in. And now this might create problem that if credit is before and that
Yeah, then
amount
we
doesn't
carry
materialize
forward is
later
there.
on. So for
So
individuals, it is exempt, but for non-individuals, that you mentioned and that it is exempt in Schedule 3 also, Section 11, Schedule 3 of the new Act, that they have exempted the individuals so far as deduction of TDS is concerned for the insurance companies and also for payment of tax for the individuals. But for other than individuals, it still
yeah,
remains that payment and credit is a new thing that has come in the
yes,
new
correct.
Act.
Earlier it was only on receipt basis.
It was on receipt basis only.
Now credit or payment, whichever is earlier.
Right.
So
Right.
now what will happen is you will receive that income in 1 year, but before even receiving that income, the TDS will be deducted. So
But
in
that
case
would
it
be
will
only in non-individual
non-corporate.
cases. Non-individual
Sorry,
cases, sorry.
non-individual, so only for corporate.
Right.
So
Only for
that
corporate.
means you will be carrying forward. If it falls in 2 different tax years,
Right,
then you
right.
need to carry forward
But
to
what
the
I
next
understand in the Motor Accident Claims Tribunal hardly gives any interest or any compensation to the non-individuals. It's mostly for individuals.
individuals.
So perhaps its impact would be lesser than thought.
Correct.
But no doubt this is a problem that will be created for even one person if that is there.
Yeah,
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
thank you. Yes.
Deepika, one more question regarding applicability of TDS.
Yeah.
The turnover 1 crore and 50 lakh we have to check, not the tax audit for last year. So is it for if the last year turnover is exceed 1 crore, then still no tax audit is applicable for last year. We have to deduct TDS for current year. Only turnover criteria we have to check in, or TDS applicability.
We have to check the
Tax
TDS
audit
applicability.
applicability. Yes,
No,
TDS
your question
applicable
is with
for
regard to TDS or tax audit?
TDS.
Okay.
So for applicability of TDS, we need to check whether last year tax audit has been done or 1 crore turnover is exceeded.
Why do you want to check that limit?
So previously, we need to deduct TDS once our last year is tax audit. Then is there any changes in this year?
No changes with regard to that.
So if suppose there is no tax audit in last year, but our turnover is more than 1 crore, then TDS is
Okay.
applicable?
No, I'm not able to understand your question. Can anybody else?
Ma'am, last year, for the year 2025, the client
Okay.
turnover is 1 crore, greater than 1 crore.
Okay.
But there is no tax audit. Because the
Okay.
tax,
No tax audit because?
because the turnover is less than 10 crore, cash transaction is less than 5%, then tax audit is
Okay.
not applicable. But the
Okay.
turnover is more than 1 crore. The TDS is applicable.
Turnover is more than 1 crore. Okay.
Turnover
But
is more than 1 crore. That's why this question is arise, because the tax audit is not applicable due to another criteria. The tax audit turnover is less than 10 crore and cash transaction is less than 5%. So we don't require tax audit. As per old provision 44 EB, tax audit is not applicable.
okay.
But since the turnover is more than 1 crore, we need to deduct TDS.
Correct. TDS, it's mandatory. Preceding financial year, because your turnover has exceeded, no? 1 crore. So TDS compliance is mandatory.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hello.
There is one
yes,
issue
ma'am.
Ma'am,
we
Ah,
sorry.
rate on
madam, you go ahead. Yeah.
rate on scrap sale has been changed in new financial year.
No, rate remains the same.
Scrap sale में in 2% is there. Earlier
Yes,
it was
2%.
earlier it
2%.
was 1%.
2% only.
Earlier it was in all the income tax act it was 1% on scrap sale.
No. Now it is 2%, madam. Earlier you are saying 1961 Act.
Yes.
1961 Act, it was 1%.
Okay. Now it has been
Now
changed
it is 2%. 2%. Yes.
on all the TCS transactions.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, if the party deducted TDS for the month of March 2026, but unknowingly the client submitted the TDS as per Income Tax Act 2025. So how can we
Okay.
rectify?
So this is a peculiar situation which even I haven't come across. So the applicable section is 1961 only. So
Yes,
in
ma'am.
but the only thing is the rate is not the rate is unchanged. So you can actually manually go to the department and submit one letter, because in a portal I didn't see any rectification mechanism. In income tax portal I didn't find any rectification mechanism. So you need to visit that department only and talk to them for so that in back end if they can actually do something, so that you can get the certificate as per the old Income Tax Act, it will be good. As far as when I saw in the portal in front end, there is no rectification mechanism which is given.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
Madam, in section 194T,
Ah,
the 1961 Act,
yeah.
they have mentioned payment or credit whichever is earlier. In 2025, that whichever is earlier is not there. Does it make any difference?
So it doesn't make any difference. If nothing is mentioned, then we have to take it as whichever is earlier only, no? Because we cannot take it as receipt basis.
क्या क्वेश्चन पीडीएस पे प्रोविजन का वो तो है सॉरी प्रोविजन पे हेलो
Yes, sir.
For example, if we receive we have not received the bill amount but we are making provision of it, So TDS is
Ah.
applicable on provision amount or not?
It is applicable.
It is applicable.
Yes.
It may be provision or then also.
Yes.
Because amount paid or credited, whichever
Yes.
is earlier.
So,
Correct.
sir, bill we have not received, or we are also not confirmed when it will come. But estimated amount we have based on our PO, then it is also applicable.
So
Yeah, because you are creating a
at
provision,
the
right?
time
Yeah.
of provision, we are booking expenditure.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes. Yes. Any other questions? Yeah. So hope you all enjoyed the session. So hope it was useful as well. So thank you for taking your time on a Saturday and joining the session. And thanks to Vipul sir for actually arranging this session and giving me an opportunity to address the audience. Thank you so much. Hello? Yes? Someone was talking. Yes, sir. Vipul sir? Is Vipul sir? I'll be sharing the presentation to the organizer Vipul sir. So maybe he will share it. Vipul sir? He's not in, I mean, he's in mute.
Yeah.
1 second, let me call him. Oh, Vipul sir. Oh, Vipul sir is.
Yeah, madam.
Sir. Yes, sir. So,
I was asking, like we deposited contractor payment by mistake under professional in old system.
can you come back, sir?
So the challan was at the, if we deposited professionals TDS under code 94C. Contractor by mistake.
By mistake.
Rectified on at the time of filing return.
So you are saying
So
it can be
this
rectified.
Yeah, it was facility was available in earlier portal. Will same continue in this?
So that even I have to check, sir, in portal. If you see, I haven't seen
Yeah,
any
that will be clear
rectifications.
after first quarter. It will be made
First
clear.
quarter, we
One
can get
provision.
all these clarifications after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So should we end the meeting?
Yeah, I have completed the
Any other
presentation.
queries?
Answer the queries by the
I think
participant.
no more queries are there.
Yeah.
So thank you, madam.
Thank you,
And
sir.
also special thanks to our co-admin, Mr. Anand Agarwalji, who is also a chartered accountant from West Bengal, for arranging these platforms and helping us in managing so many WhatsApp groups so that we can share knowledge together. Okay, madam. Thanks a lot. Hope
Thank you,
we
sir.
again have any other session
Definitely,
in
sir.
future with you.
Yeah, sure. Even in
Thank you.
GST, you let me know, sir.
Yeah, madam. We will plan in GST as per the requirement of members. I will connect again.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
thanks to every participant. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.